Hello, beautiful souls. Let's talk about something we all crave, but sometimes forget to nurture: intimacy. Intimacy isn't just about physical closeness, it's about feeling truly seen, heard, and desired by your partner. But over time, life gets busy, routines take over, and the spark can quietly dim. So, how do you know if your relationship is asking for more intimacy? Let's dive in. When emotional distance starts to grow in a relationship, it rarely happens overnight. It's a slow shift, almost invisible at first, and that's what makes it so dangerous. In the early days, conversations feel endless. You talk about dreams, fears, silly stories, and secret desires. You share laughter, late night confessions, and even comfortable silences that feel safe. But over time, life's pressures, work, stress, responsibilities begin to take up space, and the bond that once felt natural can quietly start to weaken. Emotional intimacy is the foundation of a strong relationship. Without it, two people can live under the same roof and still feel miles apart. The first sign of emotional distance is when conversations become shallow. Instead of asking, "How are you really feeling?" partners ask only about schedules, chores, or surface details. The soul level talks disappear, and suddenly the person who once knew everything about your inner world feels like a stranger. When this happens, resentment can quietly build. One partner may feel neglected or unseen, while the other may feel overwhelmed or misunderstood. Neither may say it out loud, but the silence grows louder than words ever could. Another layer of emotional distance shows up when vulnerability fades. In the beginning, it feels easy to open up and share your insecurities because you trust your partner will hold them gently. But when intimacy starts to slip, that safety can feel uncertain. You might hesitate to share your true feelings out of fear of judgment, rejection, or simply not being understood. And the less you share, the more disconnected you become. Vulnerability is like oxygen for love. Without it, the relationship suffocates slowly. Emotional distance can also manifest in small but telling ways. When one partner no longer celebrates the other's wins, when frustrations replace encouragement, or when moments of joy aren't shared with the same excitement as before, it leaves a void. This lack of emotional engagement can make one or both partners start seeking validation elsewhere, not always in other people, but in work, hobbies, or distractions. It's not betrayal, it's substitution, filling the empty space where emotional closeness used to live. What makes emotional distance especially painful is that it creates loneliness within togetherness. You're physically present with your partner, yet emotionally absent. That contradiction can feel more isolating than being alone, because the person you most want connection with feels out of reach. And the truth is, most people don't drift apart because of one huge fight or betrayal. They drift apart because they stop talking, stop listening, and stop sharing the deeper parts of themselves. Recognizing emotional distance is the first step to repairing it. It takes awareness to notice when your conversations feel hollow, when laughter feels rare, or when your partner's eyes no longer light up at your stories. It's about catching the disconnection early before it becomes the new normal. Love cannot survive on routine alone. It needs the warmth of emotional intimacy to stay alive. When emotional closeness fades, everything else in the relationship feels weaker. And that's why noticing this first sign matters more than anything. Physical touch is one of the deepest ways humans communicate love. And when it starts to disappear in a relationship, the absence is felt even if it's not spoken about. It isn't only about sexual intimacy. It's about the little gestures that say, "I see you, I feel you, and I want to be close to you." A gentle hand on the shoulder, a kiss before leaving for work, a warm hug after a long day. These simple acts are powerful because they remind partners of their bond without needing words. When those gestures fade, the relationship begins to feel colder, not just physically, but emotionally as well. In the early stages of love, touch is constant. Couples hold hands everywhere. They steal kisses in between conversations. They can't resist brushing against each other. Over time, that energy can shift, not because the love isn't there, but because comfort takes over. The fire that once burned bright becomes quiet, and without realizing it, partners can go days or even weeks without meaningful physical contact. That gap can create a silent distance. One partner may crave the closeness while the other is unaware of how much it's missing. This imbalance can lead to frustration, rejection, or even self-doubt as someone begins to wonder if they're still desired. The truth is, touch is a language all its own. It communicates reassurance when words aren't enough. It deepens trust when silence feels heavy, and it sparks desire when life feels routine. Science even proves that physical affection lowers stress and releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone. Without it, relationships can start to feel transactional, like two people simply sharing responsibilities instead of sharing love. You may still have conversations, you may still live together, but without touch. The warmth and passion that make a relationship special slowly fade. A lack of touch can show up in small moments when one partner reaches out for a hug and the other is distracted. When a kiss before bed becomes an afterthought or disappears completely. When intimacy feels scheduled or like an obligation rather than a natural expression of love. These little omissions might not seem important at first, but over time they create a void that feels heavy. Humans are wired for connection, and without touch, that need doesn't go away. It just turns into longing. What often makes this issue tricky is that many couples don't talk about it openly. One partner might fear sounding needy if they ask for more affection, while the other may not even realize their touch has faded, yet avoiding the conversation only makes the silence grow. The unspoken need becomes a quiet tension, and instead of bringing partners closer, it creates a wall. The absence of touch doesn't always mean the love is gone. Often, it simply means attention has drifted away and life has gotten in the way, but the impact is undeniable. Without regular affection, partners can start to feel like roommates instead of lovers. The spark becomes memory instead of reality. And the H of missing something so simple, a hand to hold, a kiss to share, an embrace to melt into, becomes one of the clearest signs that intimacy is slipping away. When a relationship starts to feel more like a routine than a romance, it often signals that intimacy is quietly fading into the background. In the beginning, everything feels exciting, dates are full of anticipation, surprises are frequent, and even the smallest plans feel magical because they're infused with effort and curiosity. Over time, however, responsibilities, stress, and daily obligations begin to take center stage, and the relationship can shift into autopilot. The passion that once made two people feel alive together can become buried beneath schedules, chores, and repetitive patterns. When that happens, the connection no longer feels like an adventure. It feels like a checklist. Romance thrives on spontaneity and effort. It's not just about grand gestures. It's about creating moments that remind your partner that they are cherished and desired. When couples stop putting energy into romance, the relationship can feel stagnant. Instead of planning a date night, they default to watching television on the couch. Instead of playful flirting, communication becomes about bills, deadlines, or grocery lists. While there is comfort in routine, too much of it can strip away the spark that keeps intimacy alive. Passion isn't built on repetition, it's built on curiosity, playfulness, and the willingness to keep rediscovering each other. When romance fades into routine, partners often stop seeing each other with fresh eyes. They forget to notice the little things that once made them fall in love, the way their partner laughs, the way they move, the way they light up when talking about something they love. Instead, familiarity takes over and partners begin to assume they already know everything there is to know. But the truth is, people are always evolving. Without curiosity and intentional effort, couples risk losing the chance to grow together. That lack of discovery is what turns a relationship from passionate to predictable. This shift into routine also creates emotional distance, because excitement is one of the ways love communicates vitality. When everything becomes predictable, the energy between partners dulls. The heart longs for novelty, not in the sense of new people, but in new experiences shared with the one you love. Without it, even strong relationships can feel uninspiring. Partners may start to feel unappreciated or even invisible, as though the relationship is surviving but not thriving. This doesn't always lead to separation, but it often leads to a quiet dissatisfaction where both partners stay together but feel unfulfilled. The absence of romance doesn't mean the relationship is doomed, but it is a clear signal that more attention is needed. People sometimes confuse comfort with connection, believing that routine is enough to sustain love. While comfort is important, it should never replace intentional closeness. True intimacy requires energy, surprise, and the willingness to go beyond the ordinary. If left unchecked, the lack of romance transforms a relationship into a partnership of convenience rather than a partnership of passion. Recognizing when love has slipped into routine is essential because it gives couples the opportunity to reignite the flame before it fades into embers. When effort begins to fade in a relationship, it is one of the clearest signals that intimacy is slowly slipping away. Love is not something that stays alive on its own. It requires care, attention, and deliberate actions to keep the connection strong. In the early stages, effort feels natural and almost effortless. Partners go out of their way to impress each other, to express affection, to show they are thinking about one another. Compliments flow easily, surprises are frequent, and every gesture is filled with intention. Over time, however, comfort and familiarity can cause that energy to fade. The gestures that once felt essential become optional, and soon they disappear altogether. The absence of effort can show up in small but meaningful ways. Maybe the good morning texts stop. Maybe compliments become rare, or special occasions pass by without the same excitement. Instead of planning thoughtful dates or expressing love with creativity, partners may settle into routines that feel practical but lack passion. While these shifts may seem minor at first, over time, they erode the emotional and physical closeness that intimacy depends on. When one partner feels unappreciated or unseen, they begin to question their importance, and that doubt can create distance. Effort is also about communication. A strong relationship thrives when partners actively listen, validate each other's feelings, and engage in conversations that go beyond the surface. When effort fades, communication often becomes transactional, focused only on responsibilities, chores, or logistics. This shift strips away the warmth and playfulness that once made talking feel exciting. Without effort in communication, misunderstandings grow, conflicts linger, and emotional distance widens. The absence of intentional effort can make even the deepest love feel hollow. What makes the lack of effort especially damaging is that it sends an unspoken message. Whether intentional or not, it tells the other person, "You're not worth my energy. Even if the love is still there, the absence of actions that prove it leaves one or both partners feeling neglected. Love is not just a feeling. It is shown through consistent gestures, whether small or grand, that remind someone they are cherished. When that consistency is lost, the bond weakens and resentment can quietly take its place. The fading of effort doesn't always mean partners no longer care. Often, it is the result of distraction, stress, or the assumption that love will simply sustain itself without nurturing. But the reality is that relationships cannot run on autopilot. They require constant attention and renewal. When effort disappears, intimacy declines, passion cools, and the relationship risks becoming more of an arrangement than a romance. Recognizing this decline is crucial because it allows couples to make changes before the connection is lost completely. The presence or absence of effort is often the difference between a relationship that thrives and one that merely survives. At the heart of every strong relationship is the willingness to nurture intimacy through emotional closeness, physical touch, romance, and the effort we put in every single day. These signs aren't meant to scare you, but to remind you that love is a living energy. It grows when we feed it, and it fades when we take it for granted. If you've noticed any of these signals in your own relationship, take it as an opportunity, not a failure. A chance to reconnect, to rediscover, and to reignite the passion that first brought you together. Because true intimacy isn't lost forever. It can always be rebuilt with awareness, effort, and love. Thank you for giving me your time and your open hearts. Stay connected, stay intentional, and remember, love always grows stronger when we choose to water it.